Hey everybody, welcome back to another Nature's Always Right episode. Today is going to be all about irrigation and how I've upgraded my manifold. So you may have seen my previous episode about how I made an on and off valve for the manifold for my drip tape for each bed so that each bed can be turned off. Well, I've upgraded it so that it's even better, and after using it for a year, I thought up a way that I can improve it a little and make it a little bit easier to use, and I'm really happy with it. Let's take a look. There's two major features of the new design, and the first one is using a valve that connects to 1/2 inch that can also be taken off. So I put these compression tees on here. You can unscrew this and take this off. So here, if we look at the real version of it, here's that valve we were just looking at. So I can take this tee off and completely lift this up and out. So it's just like these ones. You unscrew them. A little trickier to get off. This lifts completely off. Okay, and then you can just easily put it back on. So that's a huge upgrade, because normally the only way to get this manifold out of here is to take all 4 of the lines off, and then I would just bend this back. And that works excellently. But I am also doing flow through. So on the other side, I have another set of this valve and the 4 drip tapes and these connectors. So you have 8 total connectors. So every time I remove my lines, I have to take off 8 connectors. You know, it takes a little bit long. Now this one, it's 1 connection. I take it off, the whole thing pulls out. And this is the second feature that I'm really excited about. This thing is still flow through, because as the drip tapes come here, they enter this header, and then the water can enter any header. So let's just say this line was clogged right here. Water could come all the way to here and then stop. If you just tied this line off over here, just capped it off, water could never enter this part of the line and it would always be clogged. But because we have this header here, water could enter from one of these other drip lines, fill, and then go down the pathway to where the clog is. And hopefully you would only be left with one malfunctioning emitter, which wouldn't really ruin the whole piece of tape. Also, flow through allows you to have a little bit better coverage. And as you can see, I did go with 4 lines again. And I went with 4 lines again because I really want to be able to soak the bed whenever I want, keep it really wet without a lot of sprinkler usage. Once my salad mix is fully sprouted, then I can just switch to drip tape, and then that's enough water to keep it going. So I just use the sprinklers during this germination stage to help them pop, and then the drip tape has worked very well for me the rest of the time, saving me money on my water in expensive San Diego. We're just going to build out a bunch of these manifolds, pre-make them all, get it all set up, and then we'll go over to the new property and I'll show you how I'm going to set it all up over there and how I'm thinking about using the new design and all of that. If you haven't seen the video already, here's a link to the old manifold design, and I've got a few other videos on drip irrigation as well. Check out my playlist. I have an irrigation playlist. Okay, so putting them together is basically identical to the other way that I used to do it. It's just using these twist on and offs instead of the permanent compressions. So just completely unscrew this, put some 1/2 inch on, or a 3/4 inch, whatever you're using. So I know that the nipple comes out to about here. So what I'll do is just line up the T that I'm gonna put on there. And I know the tube can go all the way back to the edge here. So that's where I make my cut. And that just helps me to get it very flush, because I want these manifolds to be as small as possible so they take up the least amount of space as possible. And then you just twist it on. Boom. And then, you know, hardly any gap at all. So I've got the main part of the manifold here, and my next step is just to cut out a 30-inch piece, which I've already done. So 30 inches for a 30-inch wide bed. And then I'm putting holes every 6 inches since I'm doing 4 drip tapes so that they're all equidistant. It's always going to bend like that. I like to put the holes on the inside because it makes it a lot easier once we are attaching the drip tape Eventually this thing will relax and it becomes more straight. But I just find that putting the holes there is the easiest and the safest. So what I do is I just lay it out and I lay it across so that it's 30 inches. I find my mark at 24. When I do that, I put my poker in place. I love these ones because they're not hard on your hands. You just need to be really sure of where you're putting the hole. And you want to make sure that the holes are placed basically at the same angle so that when you put in your adapters that they are all basically the same. Some of them are up in the air, some of them are down. The way you want them to be all equal. I've marked my holes. I'll just cut right down the center of the tee, right where this little line mark is. It doesn't have to be super perfect, but you want it to be as equidistant as possible so that the lines have a good spread on them and it waters really evenly. Okay, so I just need to put these in. I definitely recommend wearing some gloves whenever you're doing drip work because it's really hard on your hands. I'm just going to pop these in. So for that, I just support the pipe with my fingers, making it easier to pop in. You'll feel a nice pop and hear a nice click when it's in there correctly. Okay, so this is the final result. The drip tape goes on here. To close, once we blow out the lines, we'll close these off. Some electrical tape, of course. And then the final step is just to make the other header. The other header is also going to be 30 inches. All right, all done, and here's the complete set. So I'll need one of these for each bed. So this is the header piece, and then this is the full manifold with the valve. Okay, I've now been using the manifold for a couple weeks, and I really like them. It fixed all the problems that I was having with them before, and it's now even easier for me to take lines on and off all by myself. So I'll just give you a quick run through of how I use it. So when I take the lines off, my other side is anchored to the ground, so it's much easier to take this side and just move it out of the way. And you can just throw it over to the side just like that. It's really easy. And then I can go to the other side and do the same exact thing. So I remember on my old manifold, if I wanted to remove the lines and remake the bed, I had to take each one of these drip tape connections off. Now it is a single one. So to get them off, at first they're pretty tight, but you just unscrew them, wiggle it, and get it off. Since I already picked up and moved the other side, now I've got this piece, and I can just lift it and move it. So, as you can see, in just 2 moves there, I got all the lines out of the way onto another bed. And just little pieces left I gotta move over. So, way faster. As far as dirt getting in here, that's not been a problem at all. You put the lines back on, you pressurize it, and you can just, blow it out just as before. But it's just such a time saver not having to reconnect all of these lines, and it's much easier to move by myself. So now that I've had a chance to work with this for a couple weeks, I definitely recommend only using this new manifold design. The other design is still great and I'm very happy with using it, but now that this one's more efficient and more cost effective for all the fittings, this is just the way to go. And I'll keep testing how this new kind of flow through works for me. The normal way to set up a flow through would be to have another supply line of 1/2 inch going to that other side, feeding water from that side. Whereas in my design, the actual drip tape itself feeds it to a header and then back down through. So slightly different than the normal way flow through is done, but I think it's going to give me the exact same effect. So I don't think that it's really going to matter too much, but we'll see. I think that running the 1/2 inch poly would make it a little bit more reliable, but in the end, you're going to lose pressure. It's more pipe. Unless they all got clogged, this will have the same exact function as flow through.